you know that the first documented Catholic Mass in the Philippines was held on March 31, 1521, and it was Easter Sunday. Magellan ordered a Mass to be celebrated, which was officiated by Father Pedro Valderrama, the Andalusian chaplain of the fleet, and the only president. Conducted near the shores of the island, and the first Holy Mass marked the birth of Roman Catholicism in the Philippines. The Catholic hierarchy said it stand by the proceedings and findings of panel historians, affirming Limasawa Island as the site of the first Easter Sunday Mass in the country. Some proponents claim Butuan City in Agusan del Norte as the real site of the historic Mass and not Limasawa. The National Historical Commission of the Philippines settled the controversy over the official site of the 1521 Easter Sunday Mass in the country by favoring Limasawa in southern Leyte instead of Massaw in Butuan City. Now, about Palm Sunday 1520, and we know this from the journal entries of a young Venetian who chronicled the voyage of Magellan. Antonio de Pigafetta, it was Pigafetta by the way, who recorded that Mass was celebrated in Limasawa.
Cavite, Mutiny, January 20, 1872, a brief uprising of 20 Filipino troops workers at the Cavite arsenal, which became the excuse for Spanish repression of the embryonic Philippine nationalist movement. Ironically, the harsh reaction of the Spanish authorized troops ultimately to promote nationalist cause. The Mutiny was quick crushed, but the Spanish regime under the reactionary governor Rafael de Izquierdos magnified the incident and used it as an excuse to clamp down on those Filipinos who had been calling for governmental reform. A number of Filipino intellectuals were seized and accused of complicity within the mutineers. After a brief trials, three priests, Jose Vargas, Jacinto Zamora, and Mariano Gomez, were publicly executed. The three subsequently became the martyrs to the cause of Philippine independence.
20 January 1872, the District of Sampaloc celebrated the feast of the Virgin of Loreto. Unfortunately, participants to the feast celebrated the occasion with the usual fireworks displays. Allegedly, those in Cavite mistook fireworks as the sign for the attack, and just like what was agreed upon, the 200-man contingent headed by Sergeant Lamadrid launched an attack targeting Spanish officers at sight and seized the arsenal. And when the news reached the iron-fisted Governor Izquierdo, he readily ordered the reinforcement of the Spanish forces in Cavite to put an end to the rebellion. Major instigators, including Sergeant Lamadrid, were killed, while the Gombursa were sentenced to die by strangulation. And patriots and other abogadillos were suspended in High Court. And on 17 February 1872, in an attempt of Spanish government to instill fear among the Filipinos that they may never commit such daring act again, the Gombursa were executed, and this event was tragic but served as one of the moving forces that shaped Filipino nationalism.
So, Filipino scholar and researcher Dr. Trinidad Hermenegildo Pardo de Vera wrote the Filipino version of the bloody incident in Cavite. The incident was a mere mutiny by the native Filipino soldier and laborers of the Cavite arsenal who turned out to be against with the abolition of their privileges according to his point of view. The policies included the abolition of privileges of the workers and native armies, members of the arsenal, and the prohibition of the founding of School of Arts and Trades for the Filipinos, which the general believed was a cover-up for the organization of a political club. 200 men comprised of soldiers, laborers of the arsenal, and residents of Cavite headed by Sergeant Lamadrid rose in arms and assassinated the commanding officers and Spanish officers in sight on 20th January 1872. The support from the bulk of the army was expected by the insurgents. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. General Izquierdo immediately ordered the reinforcement of Spanish troops in Cavite after the news about the mutiny reached authorities in Manila. After 2 days, the mutiny was officially declared subdued. Travera believed that the Spanish friars and Izquierdo used the Cavite mutiny as a strong lever by magnifying it as a full-blown conspiracy involving native army and residents of Cavite and Manila. And more importantly, the native clergy to overthrow the Spanish government in the Philippines. This turnout of events was believed by Travera prompted the friars to do something drastic in their diocese to maintain power in the Philippines.
Meanwhile, Sigismundo Morath authored an educational decree that promoted the fusion of sectarian schools run by friars into a school called Philippine Institute, that was welcomed by the central government of Spain in the intention of installing reforms. The decree suggests the teaching positions must be filled by requiring competitive examinations to improve the standard of education here in the Philippines. In spite of the native clergy's zest for secularization, it was still warmly received by most of Filipino people. The friars took advantage of the incident and presented to the Spanish government as vast conspiracy organized throughout the archipelago with the object of destroying the Spanish sovereignty, because they fear that their influence in the Philippines would be a thing of the past. It was sadly confirmed by Tavera that the Madrid government came to believe that the scheme was true without any attempt to investigate the real fact or extent to the alleged revolution reported by Izquierdo and the friars. Those convicted educated men who participated in the mutiny received sentenced life imprisonment, while members of the native clergy headed by Gomborza were tried and executed by garrote or strangulation. The episode leads to the awakening of nationalism and eventually to the outbreak of the Philippine Revolution of 1896. Edmond Lejeune, a French writer whose account complemented Rivera's account by confirming that the event happened due to the discontent of the arsenal workers and soldiers in Cavite 4th. Plongeon, however, dwelt more on the execution of the three martyr priests, which he personally witnessed.
Good day, guys. Considering the four accounts of the 1872 mutiny, there were some basic facts that remain to be unvarying. First, there was dissatisfaction among the workers of the arsenal as well as the members of the native army after their privileges were drawn back by General Izquierdo. Second, General Izquierdo introduced rigid and strict policies that made the Filipinos move and turn away from Spanish government out of disgust. Third, the central government failed to conduct an investigation on what truly transpired but relied on reports of Izquierdo and the friars and the opinion of the public. Fourth, the happy days of the friars were already numbered in 1872 when the central government in Spain decided to deprive them of the power to intervene in government affairs. 12 June 1898 may be a glorious event for us, but we should not forget that before we came across to victory, our forefathers suffered enough. And just like what Elias said, in noli mitang here, may we not forget those who feel during the night. That's all. Thank you.